All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well this morning. So today I'm going to talk about Tekashi 69, who has been in the news even more than usual this week because he took the stand and pretty much just told on everybody. Just a nice blanket snitching. And this threw the internet into a frenzy, especially his hip hop community, saying, he's a snitch and should be killed and is a loser and, everything you can imagine. Pretty much 100% negative reaction to him getting up on the stand and telling on everybody. And I totally get it, but I also just feel for the kid, 22 years old and facing 47 years. A lot of the people that are on YouTube being like, what a coward loser. I want to see what they would do sitting in that chair facing 47 years in federal prison. But let's go back. I think it's a very interesting story. So, Tekashi grew up in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and at some point, his dad was shot, and Tekashi was across the street, so he was told, your dad was shot. So he ran out, and I think essentially said goodbye to his dad right there on the street, and then he's either died right there or later on in the hospital. So, that's really tough, and he's a pretty cool looking Spanish kid, He's got this long hair, and even before he was a rapper, he had gone viral for wearing this outfit that it was like all black, and on the front it said pussy, and then on the back it said eater, and then on his pants it said the N-word. So that's not the easiest outfit to pull off. So he, was maybe like a provocateur, or I don't know, just kind of a funny class clown type kid. And he worked at a grocery store, and someone came in and said, "Do you rap? Do you make music?" And Tekashi was like, "No." And the guy was like, "Well, you should. You at least got the look. I don't know if you're talented at all, but you look cool." And so that put the seed in Tekashi's head of, oh, and I think more than anything, Tekashi's talent is to get clicks and get views and go viral. He's a pretty smart guy when it comes to like marketing and that type of stuff, and knowing what people want and what young kids want and everything. And the first time he was on my radar was YouTube recommended his Breakfast Club interview, which is a morning hip-hop radio station here in New York. And because I'd never heard his music. I don't really listen to much hip-hop. I used to listen to more, but as you get older, like I'm 33, as you get older, it gets harder. Like I heard a song the other day that was like the kid rapping was like eating Xanax every day. And it's like when I was young, it would have been like, whoa, that's cool. He doesn't care about anything. But now I hear that and I'm like, woo, that's going to be a hard habit to kick, buddy. Been there, done that. Good luck, kid. So it's harder to just be like, whoa, that kid talking about doing drugs is cool. But so I clicked on that Breakfast Club interview and instantly understood why he just was blowing up. He's pretty funny. He, I guess, knew how to make hip-hop fun again. He got in a bunch of beefs with other young rappers, but it seemed like in good spirit. Like they would mix it up a little bit and fun, and he would do these live Instagrams that the numbers would just be totally crazy, and just had a really fast success. He made a video that totally blew up of him in Bushwick, Brooklyn, with a lot of gangster-looking people. And when he took the stand last week or so, he was saying that he knew the aesthetic of what people want. He knew the aesthetic for the video was these real, genuine, gangster-looking vibes, I guess. And so there's a 22-year-old kid that is already thinking like, okay, I want the aesthetic of this video to be this. This is what they want. And up on the stand, he was like, I knew I had this formula and I knew how to recreate it. And so I truthfully feel more than like a gangbanger dude. I think that was more of just a internet provocateur that is funny and knew that this gangster image was what he needed to portray to keep the whole thing just exploding upwards. So at some point, he joined a section of the gang, the Bloods, called the Nine Trey Bloods. And I don't know. I don't know too much about like gangs and stuff. So if I mess up this information, I'm sorry. But I think I'll get it mostly right. And so he joins. Usually you'd have to get like jumped in where they beat you up and all this stuff to join. But since he was becoming a famous rapper, they let him in for free. And so he's in there in this gang, the Bloods, for free. So now he gets security. He gets credibility in the rap career. He's not faking it like a lot of other rappers throughout the years, being like, I'm a gangster. And then it comes out that, And so he joins this gang, and he's like 22 years old. They're all much older than him. And I doubt ever had his best interest in mind. And so he starts making a lot of money. One of his videos comes out and does insane, and then he does another one, same type of thing, just a bunch of gang type, hey, stuff in the video. Everybody loves that one. He starts doing guest appearances on other big name artists in their rap videos, and so he's just pretty much exploding, calls himself the King of New York. Hip hop, no one really can argue with him at the time. And then, if I understand it right, at a certain point, he realizes that section of the Bloods that he was hanging with were, I think, stealing from him or, doing something where he realized, okay, these dudes do not have my best interest in mind. And then he did an interview where he was saying, I think basically like these guys were stealing from me and I'm not with them anymore. He said, I am not connected with that. And then if I understand it right, they were mad because he was basically the cash flow for their little operation. And also he publicly said he's not down with them anymore. So they decided that they were going to kill him or, beat him up or something. And then the feds, who had their phones tapped, came in and arrested Tekashi 6ix9ine. One, for a bunch of stuff that he had done with them, but also in a way for his protection. So he gets arrested by the feds, charged with racketeering, drug distribution, and some violent, like shooting type stuff, and is looking at 47 years in federal prison. And it's not ever a good idea to tell on anyone, but in this case, it's like those people were going to kill him, I think. Is that right? If anybody knows the story better than me, let me know in the comments. But what I could figure out is they were going to kill him. So it's okay to kill him, but it's not okay for Tekashi to snitch that they were going to kill him, And so he is totally cooperating. And I think we'll get way less time in jail. They were saying that Tekashi thinks he could be released as early as January, but I heard he could do up to 8 years or something. But he's a 23-year-old kid, and he has tattoos all over his face and all over his body. And so if he does get out, everybody hates him and thinks he's a snitch and thinks he should die. So then the discussion online was, do you think he'll be in witness protection? And then it came out that he doesn't want to be, and he wants to pick up his rap career right where it left off. And I don't know, it's pretty interesting. I'm definitely going to follow it, and I'll keep it updated. But I wanted to just end this episode with a couple stories. The first one being, as a very young man, learning the lesson that you should never tell on people. So how that looked is, I don't know how old I was, but it was really young, way before elementary school, because I already had my no telling policy in my head once I got to elementary school. But at a certain point, as a young guy, my parents went over to a barbecue with one of their with a friend, right? And so their friends are having this big barbecue. So my family goes over, and the dads are all hanging out talking in one part of the, and then all the moms are hanging out, and then all the kids are hanging out. And the kids were all, the boys were all hanging out, and they were all friends, and they were all like 2 or 3 years older than me. So I'm hanging out trying to, survive socially with these dudes that are already friends and older than me, and I'm kind of the little young kid, and they weren't being totally nice to me the way kids can be. No big deal. And I remember it was kind of progressing, and one of them said something to me and like cussed or something, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go and tell his mom. And like I said, I was and I'm thinking in my head that I'm going to go and tell his mom, like, Sean said the SH word, and they're going to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and like help me or something. And so I went in to where the moms were hanging out, and I said, hey, to Sean's mom, I said, hey, Sean said the SH word, thinking that it was going to be this reaction, and it couldn't have been more of an opposite reaction than what I thought. So she goes, oh, what is this, tattletale time? And I was like, oh, wait, what? And then the other moms kind of like snickered like a little bit, like, oh. And then my mom, I can't remember if it was right there or if it was like later, but my mom essentially at some point was like, don't tell on people. No one likes a tattletale. And having my mom say that, no one likes a tattletale, and coupled with the reaction of the other moms being like, what is this, tattletale time? And then seeing them kind of laugh and snicker at me, I instantly got it. The whole thing. I was like, oh, okay. I got it. You don't do this. All right. So as a very young guy, just because of that little thing, I instantly saw the whole big picture. Like, okay, telling on people is really unlikable and really just doesn't get you anywhere, and you're going to have to go, I had to go and hang out with the kids anyway. So even if the mom would have said, oh my God, Scott, I'm so sorry, come here, and then went and yelled at Sean for, you don't be mean to Scott, and then she would have left, I still would have just been there like, hey guys, I'm the teller guy. So it was very clear to me in that moment, the whole process and thoughts that people have on telling. And the first time that I was really told on was in 6th grade. Like, it came up a few times. Obviously, it was reinforced, the whole not telling. As you're growing up, you're playing with kids in the neighborhood. You see the kid that does go off and tell and how unlikable it is. And in elementary school, one of my friends broke a window with a snowball, and I didn't tell on him. So I had this hole in my head. But then the first time someone told on me was I was in 7th grade, and I was in the school band. And when you're in the school band, the big tests for the class for band are the concerts. And so we all had matching maroon shirts in the 6th grade band, and it said Grand Mesa Middle School Band on it. And part of your grade for the concert is you had to bring your shirt. It was part of responsibility. If you're in a band later in life as a musician and you're all wearing suits or you're all wearing the same thing, part of being a professional musician is showing up so the band teacher was very adamant that you have to bring your shirt and that there is not an extra shirt for you. And so we all showed up on band concert day, which is pretty fun because you're going to perform the songs you've been working on for everyone. And I played the drums, and one of my friends, Trevor, played the trumpet, and he was first chair trumpet, which means he's the best trumpet player in the band. And Trevor forgot his shirt. And Trevor was this very type A, always got A's, always was the perfect student, and he just forgot his shirt that day. And so we were ribbing on it. And there was just something so funny to me. I was crying laughing about 60 people all wearing the same maroon shirt, and then Trevor sitting there wearing his just like normal t-shirt. So we were doing like, hey, nice shirt, Trev. And being like, it's all right, Trev, we all get B's, because if you get docked a ton of points, which not bringing your shirt to a band con, so you got, that he's not going to do well on that test. So we were like, it's all right, Trevor. Everybody gets B's and C's. Welcome to the club, buddy. And just like, good one, Trev. And just the sight of him sitting there while everyone was wearing the same shirt was just too much for me and my friend. And so we're laughing. And then all of a sudden, Trevor, who I think we just pushed it a little bit too far, he stands up and just maybe like a little bit crying and just like bursts out of the room and leaves. And we were like, oh shit, all right, we probably went too far. That sucks. And then about 5 seconds later, or about 5 minutes later, the principal pokes his head into the band teacher, and she goes, Scott, you got to go with the principal. And I go down to the principal's office, and he's saying like, you were bullying Trevor. And in my head, I was like, what the fuck, Trevor? Like, we were really good friends. We lived next to each other. There was a 2-year period. If I was hanging out with somebody, it was Trevor. And so I'm sitting there to the principal being like, I wasn't bullying. I mean, yeah, I was making fun of him in a really low moment, and it was funny, but I wasn't bullying. How can I bully my best friend? I was like, bring in Trevor. I want to talk to him. And they're like, no, he's recovering from your bullying. And I was just like, and it was the first time that in my head I was like, fuck you, Trevor. You're going to come in after all we've been through. We're buddies. We rib on each other all the time. And you had just a tough day. And we were friends after that, but it definitely put a little bit of strain on our friendship, because it was always like in my head, I was like, remember when you just went and told the principal I was bullying you? So then that happened, right? And then so that was kind of my first experience being told on, while I was sitting there being like, really? Couldn't you have just gone outside and gotten your composure and not told the principal that I was this really mean guy or something? And they were throwing around, bullying and stuff. And then that was like 6th or 7th grade. And then my parents moved in between 7th and 8th grade. And so going into 8th grade, I went to a new school, which is a tough time to go to a new school, because everybody had been together since kindergarten. So all their friend groups are solidified. They're on top. 8th grade is the top of middle school. So you're on the top of the school. The next year is high school. And I had a couple friends that I had played on a Little League team with, so I was like, all right, I know a couple people, and so I'm going to this new school, and I'm glad I never have to do anything like that again. It's a tough year to go to a new school, and I remember being like those, I got some baseball buddies from my Little League team. They'll help me socially, and they really didn't. I was on my own. Even one of them, I kind of caught talking smack, like behind my back after a couple weeks. And I was like, damn, like, looking back, I think probably he was just building himself an out if I blew it socially, to just be like, he wasn't mine. But, that kind of hurt. But so I go to this new school, right? And on the first day, at lunch, I'm talking to these people, and this kid named Matt, walked up and de-pantsed me, just pantsed me right in front of these 4 girls. Pants around my ankles, standing there in my underwear. And so, I pull up my pants, and the lunch period ends, and I go to class, and halfway through that class, the liaison or someone comes in and goes, we got to talk to Scott. So I go down to the office, and the principal goes, Scott, we heard that someone de-pantsed you. at lunch, and we are so sorry, and this is not how our school treats new students, and we're mortified, and we know how serious and embarrassing something like that is, and we just want, just tell us who it is and we'll deal with it, and we're really sorry that that happened to you. And I knew who it was. There was kind of two guys, Matt and Kit, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you who it is. And they were like, what do you mean? You have to. Just, tell us who it is. We're sorry it happened. You're not in trouble. And I was like, no, I can't. I can't tell you who it is. This is my first day at this school. I'm not going to start by telling. It would be social suicide. And they were a little bit angry, but I really wasn't. I just was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to tell you. And they were like, okay. And I went back to class. And then later, then school ends that day. So it's the end of first day of school, and everybody is hanging out outside. And Matt and Kit came up to me, and they were like, hey, Scott, did you get taken down to the office? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, did you tell that? And I was like, no, I just said that I'm not going to say who it was. And I said, I'm not mad, and it's fine. And they were like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. We heard that you got pulled out, and we thought we were going to get like sexual bullying, and it was just no big deal. We thought it'd be funny. And I was like, yeah, honestly, if it wasn't me with my pants hanging low on the first day of school, on a first day of a new school, I would have thought it was hilarious too. And yeah, they just were like, dude, thank you. My mom said if I got in any trouble, I wouldn't be able to do this. So I really appreciate. And then they were like, dude, we're going over to Matt's. If you want to come over, we're just going to like watch TV and eat snacks and stuff. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come. And so I essentially not telling on these kids. And me and Matt became really good friends that year. Ended up drifting apart a little bit in high school. And then he actually had moved out to New York City. So when I found out I was going to move to New York City, I called him like out of the blue and was like, hey, Matt, I'm moving to New York City. Do you think that I could like stay with you for a little bit? And he goes, yeah, sure. And so for a month, I slept on Matt's couch. And the way that we met was he pantsed me on the first day of 8th grade. And, it wasn't that big of a deal, and I didn't tell. And we became friends. And so I think overall, oh yeah, and then also probably the biggest time that either to snitch or not to snitch came in my life was the whole moped story, which I'll link in the comments. If you haven't heard the story where someone arsoned my moped when I was in college, I've heard by a few people that it's one of their favorite episodes, so I'll link that in the comments, the moped story. But that one, so someone arsoned my moped, and then the cops, and I knew who it was, and the cops and the arson investigator are sitting there being like, do you have any idea who did this? Do you think you know? And in my head, it's flashing the kid that did it and picturing him like dumping gas on it. And, I was really good friends with his brother, and I think the guy had like schizophrenia or bipolar, but watched that story, and I just didn't think it would help him anyway to go to jail. Or also, I thought he would just kill me if he got in trouble for it. And so I'm thinking they're like, do you know who? Have any idea? And all of that is just racing in my head. All of that, and then all of a sudden I'm like, nope, I don't know. Probably just random violence, random vandalism. And they're like, okay, well, let us know if you have any ideas, and they left. And I still think that was the right move. But those are kind of the stories about how telling and not telling have come up in my life. I do think, just for your own good, that telling on people is never a good idea. But also, I do feel for Tekashi. Like I said, most of the people, they're like, man, what a snitch. Can you believe that? If they were facing a quarter of the time he was, they would be like, I'll snitch on everyone. I'll snitch on my own mom. So it's going to be interesting how he kick flips this after he gets out. Can he, get past this? Will he have a rap career? Will he have to go into witness protection? Will he be killed? I don't know. Don't join gangs, kids. It's not a good idea. But I'm going to cut it off right there. I hope you guys are having a good week. I will see you next time. Why stop?